Welcome to a candidate forum featuring candidates for Rancho Cordova City Council. I'm Paula Lee, a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the moderator for today's forum. This forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. The forum is being viewed live by an audience in the Sacramento Board of Supervisors chambers and by a live cable television audience at home. It's also being taped for rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14, and you can see the rebroadcast of this forum every Sunday until Election Day. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of women and men established to promote political responsibility through informed, active participation in government. The League does not support, oppose, or evaluate political candidates or parties. Although our nonpartisanship policy does not permit endorsement of political candidates, we do, after careful study, take positions on political issues. The format for today's forum will be as follows. Each candidate will make a 1-minute opening statement. Next, the candidates will respond to questions from myself, the moderator. The questions were submitted by League members and the public and reviewed by League members. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the question, and finally, the candidates will have 1 minute to make a closing statement. In the interest of time and decorum, I ask our audience to hold all applause until the end of the forum. Now I would like to introduce the candidates who are running for Rancho Cordova City Council. Welcome to all of you, and thank you for participating in the forum. Our candidates are, from my right, Dan Skoglund, Conrad Mayer, Linda Budge, James Fici, and Kevin Johnson. Now we'll begin with opening statements. And we'll begin on my right with Dan Skoglund.
Thank you. Thank you to the League Women Voters for having this forum. They're always wonderful and beneficial to voters throughout the region at election time. Rancho Cordova has come a long way in 11 years, and despite the challenges of the economy, we've maintained vital police services and repaired and repaved roads. We've balanced our city budget. Hard work has cleaned up some of the trouble areas in our city and cleared the way for a new junior college and a family entertainment center. No wonder 75% of the residents feel Rancho Cordova is on the right track. But to keep moving forward, we need to have experienced, principled leadership and a commitment to listen to the community. I will focus on keeping the city lean and efficient, expanding neighborhood watch, and keeping fees and costs low so businesses can create jobs. My hard work has already earned me the support and endorsement of my fellow colleagues on the City Council. I'm honored to have the opportunity to serve as your council member every day. I'm asking for your support to continue working hard for Rancho Cordova. To learn more about my campaign, please visit my website, www.skoglund.com. Thank you.
Conrad Mayer.
Thank you, League of Women Voters. It's time for a community servant to serve. I'm a 47-year community servant and a proud product of our community. I think the village has raised me well. I graduated as a championship auto troubleshooter. I was at the top when it came to fixing cars and many other things. I am currently being utilized by our city and our schools in problem solvings within our community. I have a master's in hard work and good common sense. I was coached in football to be number one and to limit the use of the word can't. My mother is blind and can do just about anything because she has a can-do attitude. I am just like her and many other community members within Rancho Cordova. My mother served 25 years in the Salvation Army as a thank you for being there in our time of need. My father served our country for 25 years in their time of need. I have learned a lot from our village, and I am thankful for those lessons, and I am ready to give back in its time. My website for more information is mayorforcouncil.com.
Linda Budge.
Good morning, Rancho Cordova, and thank you to the League for continuing to provide this forum. When I first came to Rancho Cordova in 1971 after growing up in the Air Force, I found this incredible hometown, a wonderful place where I knew I wanted to participate. I first got elected to the Park District in 1978, and I've been working for Rancho Cordova ever since. So it is a great honor and a privilege to serve you as one of your city council members. There is so much that we have been able to accomplish in Rancho Cordova because we have to care as much about public safety as we do about balanced budgets, as much about streets and potholes as we do about finding new grocery stores to take the place of the Raley's that closed. So it's very much my honor to be serving you on the City Council. We need, as city leaders, to find and support the creativity and the innovation that continue to make Rancho Cordova a great place to live. We're inviting everyone to get a fresh take on Rancho Cordova because it is not the same place that it was in 2002.
James Fici.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm James Fici, and I'm a defender and champion of the Constitution. I love liberty and freedom. I'm a veteran of the Air Force, and I've served my country once, and I want to serve it again. I hold a degree in the liberal arts with emphases in history and organizational leadership, which only complements my time in the military and service to my country. As a veteran, I've given a lot to protect liberty, freedom, citizens' rights, and property rights. And today, I will distinguish the differences between myself and the other candidates by showing how we can utilize liberty, restoring it, and using that to resolve the issues that Rancho Cordova faces and that personally concern us all. We receive many blessings in life through service to others, and I can't think of a better way than proving to you that I can restore liberty and put first things first in Rancho Cordova on the City Council. My name is James Fici, and I thank you again for having me here.
Kevin E. Johnson.
How you doing? Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Johnson. I wish I was the mayor of Sacramento, but let's get that out. No, but I'm not. I'm presently 43 years old. I'm a disabled youth counselor for group homes. I've been working them for 21 years. Presently, right now, I'm trying to get back into society by working and into politics. I go to Sac City. And my thing with Rancho is I've been in Rancho for almost 16 years. I have a son that passed in Rancho. I have many contacts with the public of Rancho, and I have many concerns with Rancho. I think Rancho is an excellent city. I think they've had a great start, but I think Rancho has some issues that I could probably bring to the table and help. Our city needs to become a reactive city instead of a proactive instead of reactive. I apologize. There's some decisions making that should be worked on, like the poverty level. We need more high schools. We need more things for the young kids to do because, unfortunately, since 2001, we've got a lot more younger people than we do with the older people. So, yes,
Kevin?
My name is Kevin Johnson. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll begin with the first question, and we'll begin with Dan Skoglund, and then we'll be rotating. Rancho Cordova has limited public transportation service. The Sacramento Regional Transit has developed a long-range master plan for transit service improvements, and the Sacramento Area Council of Governments Metropolitan Transportation Plan includes proposed transit upgrades. Do you support enhancing transit services, and what projects would you give the highest priority?
Thank you. Obviously, for Rancho's growth, we do need transportation infrastructure put in, and to assist us in the years of growth we are going to have. As far as the RT's master plan, I don't sit on that board. Our other council member does, but obviously, we need to have, obviously, more bus service, first of all. We're limited. We do supply a bus system for residents and businesses in our industrial parks for them to get to the light rail, the gold line. As far as in the future itself, obviously another factor coming in transit-wise, other than RT, is the interchange at on Highway 50 between Sunrise and Hazel. That's going to be something, a big concern to people, and going to be very beneficial to the city, I feel. So, thank you.
Conrad Mayer?
I believe I will respectfully disagree that there is not enough transit. I think that was one of the measuring tools for the new college to come to our community, the number of transit possibilities. The one thing I will say is RT needs to have more stops between our cities to service some of the shopping centers and places that we need to do business, like a bus stop or a light rail stop in front of our Board of Education, so our residents can go to school board meetings to share their opinions on school and whatnot. We do have a infrastructure, and I think that was evident back when we started out as a city, and there are several plans for going out into new areas that are going to be developed in order to mitigate any possible transit problems. So, thank you.
I know that 1 minute is a pretty short time to answer some of these questions. It forces you to be very succinct. So just want to remind you to keep your eye on the timer there. Linda Budge.
Rancho Cordova is blessed with light rail, but our bus service is miserable. And yes, I do represent us on regional transit, and for those of you who watch the cable, you know that there's not a meeting that goes by that we are not challenging regional transit to provide more bus service. It's awful. You can no longer take the bus down Folsom Boulevard, and you cannot get to the library without walking 2 miles to a light rail station in one direction or 3 miles in the other. So we are working with regional transit and SACOG. We've gotten a grant to design the light rail station at Horn Road to serve the library, but that's only the first step. Dan is right. We run the Cordovan because some of us in the neighborhoods pay for it, and we want to continue that, but we're also trying to work on a way in which we can connect the new county projects on the south side with Folsom Boulevard and run bus service both ways down Folsom Boulevard.
James Fici.
Regional Transit has done a fine job getting Sacramento City some really good transportation throughout. Unfortunately, Rancho Cordova, something I will agree with Councilmember Budge and Skoglund, is that the bus system we do seem to be left out of the loop. I think that what we should do first is have a survey done to actually see where the needs are within the city. And as the city grows and continues to grow, we're going to have additional needs that are going to come along. There's going to be additional traffic with the new college coming in, and clearly we need to address the issue with the library not getting appropriate transportation. And all these things should be addressed throughout time, and something that I will, if elected, pay a lot of attention to and follow along.
Kevin E. Johnson.
The bus system needs some work, like a lot of things in Rancho. I agree that the bus system on Folsom Boulevard is fine, but what about the elder people that cannot get to Folsom Boulevard? I think we should have more buses going in between the cities, and I think there should be some understanding about the bus system needs to understand that in order to get to Folsom Boulevard, we have to do the walking. So if they can intermingle some more buses through the little small areas of town, I think we'll better our city a little bit better.
Okay, next question. We'll begin with Conrad Mayer. Many Rancho Cordova citizens are upset over what the media, the Rancho Cordova Grapevine Independent, called a lack of transparency by the Rancho City Council in approving the recent opening of a gun range next to the George Washington Carver School of Arts and Sciences without public comment. What do you think should have been done differently? And as council member, what would you do differently in the future?
Well, I'm going to say that, first of all, and most importantly, if communication isn't one of the problems, it is the problem. And that's one of the things that I would like to work on in the future, ways to communicate from city to our residents. We lack a real good system to do that. Some of the neighboring cities, such as San Francisco and other communities, have a 311 or some form of communication that they can set up to utilize themselves, whether it's texting, so on and so forth. But in this situation that we're talking about here, I believe communication from the city to the residents to get together, so they could get together and voice the way they feel and where they stand on the gun range itself and the concerns that citizens have of that.
Linda Budge?
I wish this were just an issue of transparency because it would be easily fixed. Unfortunately, this is actually a matter of property rights, and it's a matter of the zoning code. There is such a thing as by right zoning. Every zoning code has it, things that are automatically approved in the zoning code because it's been determined that they are appropriate locations. Unfortunately, the school happens to be in an industrial area. It's in an area that the county originally zoned industrial office park, and they got a use permit from the county to go in there. So the issue has not been created by the people with the gun club. Whether or not I feel that this is an appropriate location for the gun club, what we are aware of is the amount of mitigation and the amount of safety and security that they have put in there. This could just as easily have gone on the same street, Systems Parkway, as the school itself, under the same circumstances. It's really an issue of incompatible uses, and that's what the City Council is looking at for the future. That's the part we can fix.
James Feachy?
I gotta say, this is probably one of the rare circumstances where the zoning codes actually worked in favor of a controversial business by some's opinion. While personally, I don't think that the City Council had any wrongdoing by not having any transparency or not announcing the business opening up. If any other business were to open within a mixed zoning or industrial use area, there would have been no major announcement made. However, it is what it is. We're at the position where we're at now, and all we can do is fix the zoning code so that not so much that we are going to make more hoops to jump through for businesses, but make it so that some of the schools or daycares that decide to open up in these industrial areas are going to be aware that there will be some other businesses that open up next to them that may not be what they want next to them.
Kevin E. Johnson?
Absolutely not should that gun store should have been next to a school. With all the gun controls and gun issues that we're having today, my opinion, that gun should not have been allowed. Was it a city council problem? Was it a public problem? It doesn't matter whose problem, it's a problem. So what do you have with a problem? You get the people together and you come up with all sides get together and you solve the problem. Whether Rancho could have offered them another property and maybe took a hit on some money. I'd rather take a hit on some money than take a hit on a kid getting hit by a stray bullet. It's all kinds of issues. Would have been the same thing if a tow truck company would have tried to move in there? Would it have been the same issue of a sex program would have moved in there? Probably not. But I think as a city councilman, somebody should have stepped up to the plate and brought all the parties together, and it could have been a bigger discussion, and maybe somebody could have sacrificed, and we could have made better decisions.
Dan Skoglund?
The question was about communication, and I believe the communication between city staff and the city could have been better due to the sensitivity of the issue and of the project. The council did find out about 6 to 7 months after the project was permitted. So that's why we were kind of caught off guard when people started noticing and being concerned about it. So it is in a industrial area, which other businesses, industrial-wise and indoor-wise, like this is an indoor use for this gun club, are permitted. So and it's 3/4 built. So it's unfortunate that people are concerned about it, and I don't blame them. So, but my concerns are, have we got a business that's going to be a good neighbor? I feel we do. I've toured it. I've seen the safety issues and how it's going to be operated, and it's a private club, and there's going to be responsible people using it. So that's it.
Okay, this question for Linda Budge. The Rancho Cordova Interfaith Rotating Winter Shelter is a collaborative effort of churches to host and serve homeless residents for 8 weeks during cold weather. While interfaith community volunteers help the homeless, do you think the Rancho Cordova government has made helping the homeless and low income a priority? And how can government provide visible leadership year-round?
Quite frankly, we have not been providing shelter for the homeless because that actually is the job of the county. In California, cities provide local city services, counties provide umbrella services, which does include social services and the programs for the homeless. However, we have participated in Sacramento Steps Forward. We participated in the original committee that became Sacramento Steps Forward, and we very much applaud our local churches for stepping up. They're following the model of Pastor Rick Cole at Capital Christian Center, who is really leading the charge in terms of the local area churches to provide that kind of shelter. I'm sure we will support them. There's so much volunteerism in Rancho Cordova. I can easily see people volunteering to help the churches, especially those they belong to provide these services as the months grow colder.
James Feachy?
Well, in all my time studying the Constitution, I don't recall any point of my reading or studies that actually saw anything where it's okay to take our tax dollars and give them to somebody else that might be in need. Now, while that's just what I've found and discovered, I will agree with Ms. Budge here, with Councilmember Budge, that this is a county issue. And we should also be leaving this to the churches and the various organizations within the community to reach out to the homeless or those that are in need. But as far as having this be a city council responsibility, we have to look at what our real responsibilities are and stick to those so that we can excel at our true responsibilities. Thank you.
Kevin E. Johnson?
Wow, touchy subject. I think that was a whole bunch of directing our issues towards other people. Homeless is homeless. It doesn't matter what city, what county. Homeless should be helped where they are. Just because we're Rancho Cordova, we should not be pushing our homeless to Sacramento because that's a county or a city. We need to take our time and energy and deal with our homeless. We need to deal with our young people, and we need to deal with everything. If we're a city, we can't take our homeless and send them to Folsom or Sacramento. They're cities. I am in a church. We do help feed the people every Sunday, but it's hard that when I get a family that has a 9-year-old and they have nowhere to go, I have to find an old lady with an empty house to try to house them. I've done stuff to try to help the homeless, but it's hard because there's nowhere in Rancho, period, around to help the homeless. Not during the winter. When the winter comes, they bring a van, they put them on a van, and they take them out. And I was a product of being homeless, and I think we need to do more for the homeless, period.
Dan Skoglund.
I'm grateful to the churches in Rancho Cordova that are assisting with the winter program. I'm glad that they're able to help, and I know that there are homeless people in Rancho Cordova. A lot of them do come to us from the light rail and really up to the American River Parkway too. But it's, I agree with Linda Budge. It's always been, has been the county's duty to assist in the starting of all this. Now, the city of Sacramento has participated with the county. If the program grows regionally, that's great. We would have to see if we wanted to budget towards helping this in the future. But I do agree that it's the county's responsibility, with a lot of other things, to assist in this area.
Conrad Mayer.
Yes. This is not a government issue, but it is a community and a humanitarian issue, and it's something that hasn't gone away and will never will. We have yet to do, other than volunteer, our volunteer services, our churches, our service organizations have done fragmented things for the homeless. But as a region, we should be dedicating those resources and many others at a table to where we can face this as a region. Because if one person gets it, or one city, one organization gets it, all they're doing is providing, and the others that don't receive benefits go somewhere else, and it becomes someone else's problem. So if we're going to grow, and as a region, we must grow as problem solvers and resource providers, and that's what I would do. I would continue to find the resources available and a place where all of these resources and service organizations can get together and share their ideas on what would be good for homeless people. Thank you.
Okay. James Feachy. Rancho Cordova residents will vote on November 4th on a half-cent sales tax rate increase for community development projects. What would be your priorities for enhancing city services, facilities, and programs if you're elected to serve on the city council?
Well, thank you for asking that question. I've been part of the Residents Against Measure H campaign and been very vocal against this half-cent sales tax. And this is one thing where I think that me and Mayor Skoglund will side with each other on, is that we do not need this money. The city has a lot of revenue actually just sitting around that has not been applied in our rainy day fund. And additionally, there's always an opportunity within our city to make cuts within the budget and review what our actual needs are. I think that this can also reflect on just how we can make cuts by getting our priorities straight and putting first things first. While I have various ideas in mind on how we could make these cuts and what we can do to ease our, to ease the budget a little bit, I'll just leave it at that for now, that I'm not in favor of the half-cent sales tax, and I would first make cuts within the city. Thank you.
Kevin E. Johnson.
Thank you for that question. I do not agree with the half-cent tax cut or tax act. We have a lot of property in our city. We have a lot of structure in our city. We need to take the infrastructure first, and we need to take care of our own. And taxing our own is not going to help us because we're not taking the money and doing the right things with it, and we're not making the proper decisions. I'm going to take one off of my head, is that we did an intimate domain on the property, which should have never done an intimate domain, and now that guy turned around and sued us for $10 million. Should never have happened. Intimate domain was no reason to take that guy's property. It was not doing anything wrong or any problems like that. So would I make some better decisions when it comes to properties? Would I make some better decisions to do some better revenues? And I also go back to the homeless and have some of these programs, these churches that's willing to give money and to give their time to help the structure. And I think we all can come together without having to give more taxes.
Dan Skoglund.
Yes, the question was, what would you do if it passed? Basically, if it doesn't pass, basically, nothing changes. That's what's good to know about this. I did not vote for this to put it on the ballot. I was the only council member that dissented. I will not campaign against it. My reasons for not supporting the ballot measure were observations from last year and this year that signal basically the city does not need this tax. We have 11 straight balanced budgets and surpluses. This is a staff-driven item taking advantage of an upturn in our economy. Taxpayers must realize the County of Sacramento was considering passing a half-cent sales tax, but they dropped it this year. Sacramento Fire was possibly going to put an assessment on parcel taxes, but they dropped that this year. They probably will bring them back in 2 years. I'm sure they'll be back. So I know that the fact that regional sanitation will be increasing sewer fees for the next 6 to 7 years because of the requirements by the state to rebuild the sewer treatment plant. So this is something that is not needed.
Conrad Mayer?
I will go back to when we incorporated. And one of the things our citizens asked when they voted in favor of incorporation was safety. And that led us to believe that we would have our own police department. Well, I've been in a staff meeting where they've said, with the reserves that we have, we are incapable and not ready to set sail with our own police department. Now, if we don't have the ability to do so, and we don't have the funds to look like some of our neighboring cities with the amenities that they have, the civic centers, which are the places where people congregate, we've lost those with our military base being gone, the social places where our community gets together and talks and communicates, those are gone. The theaters, the family amenities, some of those things we don't have, and we are looking less like our neighboring cities, and that concerns me. It concerns me when our residents are shopping and going out of our community for family events. So,
Linda Budge?
There's only one reason that this proposal for a sales tax increase is on the ballot this year, and that's because the residents came to us in a variety of surveys and said, yes, the quality of life in Rancho Cordova is very high, but on the other hand, if we had more money, the kind of money that we lost with redevelopment and the downturn in the economy, then we could do more, and we could accomplish the things that some of the other things that were goals of ours when we incorporated. This is a matter of self-determination. Once again, if the residents choose to tax themselves and to decide for themselves what it is they want to spend the money on, such as the community centers and the parks and additional police, our own police, then that's one thing. If they choose not to vote for it, that's another. But the bottom line is, we should never be afraid to ask our local voters what they want.
All right. Kevin E. Johnson? California is suffering from a 3-year drought, and future water supply challenges are predicted as a result of climate change. What should Rancho Cordova do to ensure adequate water supply for the future? And would you support a robust water conservation program?
I get the hard question first. Simply, I think we're as a city is doing what we're supposed to. I noticed that most of the water has been cut down. I've seen my neighbors cut down on watering. So I do have an understanding that we're all aware that there's a water program. I don't agree with the last part that you said, the conservation. I think we should make them kind of decisions when we have the water to see if it's fair or not. One person shouldn't get more water than another. So I really don't have no really major comment on the water controversy, except that I hope each and one of us is doing our part that we basically can. Thank you.
Dan Skoglund?
Yes, thank you. The city of Rancho Cordova has 4 water purveyors. the County of Sacramento, the Rancho Cordova Water District, basically Cal American, and the City of Folsom. So we have 4 different organizations that provide water to us, various means, from well and from surface water. So if you were to open up our website, our home website, up in the top right corner, I've made sure that we have a right on the opening, a way for you to drill down to get to who your water purveyor is and what their policy is and what the city's policy is for, not for enforcing, but helping to have the water, the robust, as you said, the question was the robust water conservation. We obviously encourage everybody to do that. So, but it's all available on the website for the 4 water systems which provide water to us, and it's very easy to access, and please try to conserve water.
Conrad Mayer?
Yes, as a future council member, I would look back at our ordinance for lawn and landscaping, and I believe you had to have a certain percentage of grass in your front yard to be in compliance. Our neighboring city, or one across the way, Roseville, has given residents an incentive to go to low maintenance or no maintenance front yards, and I think that would be something that I would be in favor of, giving each land or each homeowner the option to either in some way do their part when it comes to conserving water. And you might find that a lot of people, as we're seeing currently, either just don't use water and they mow brown grass and they're proud of it, or they go and redo their front yards in a low maintenance way to show their willingness to conserve. So that would be something that I would be in favor of.
Linda Budge?
All of our water providers are implementing the state's conservation measures, which were adopted a couple of weeks ago. So everyone is already doing their part. As Senator Feinstein says, though, you can't conserve what you don't have. And so we need to continue to encourage the state to do something to create additional water supply storage. But if you want to take out your front yard, our zoning code already permits that. It's not a matter of how much green space you have to have. It's a matter of not putting in a lot of concrete. And we're seeing some very nice examples of people who are replacing their grass, just as they do in some of the Arizona communities. In fact, one of the water providers, Cal-Am, does give incentives for people to do that kind of thing. But for those of us who were part of the drought in 75 and 76, we're still waiting to see whether this is a long-term situation or will be cured this year. James
Feachy?
Water conservation is an issue that I think is directly related to government activities. Our Constitution directly says that we have a right to life, liberty, property, pursuit of happiness. And when we're talking about water, this is directly an effect on our lives. Now, what we should be doing on the City Council, if elected, I will ensure that we have reasonable regulations in place, and I will be pushing to create incentives for homeowners that decide to do whatever it is that they choose to do on their property that will save the need for water. Additionally, I will be advocating with the federal government or state government, or both, to ensure that we have proper water storage capacities increased throughout the state, not just for Rancho Cordova, but for the rest of our Californians.
All right, this time we begin with Dan Skoglund. What is the most important issue facing, or issues facing Rancho Cordova? And as a council member, how would you propose to address them?
Thank you. Important issues for the future of Rancho Cordova are local growth, that we have control on everything that's taking place in Rancho Cordova as far as the infrastructure, as far as the roads, as far as connectivity, as far as building, as far as bringing in and keeping businesses that need to help us grow. We're built for growth. This is a city that's going to be 25 to 30 years from now, maybe 200,000 people. So with that in mind, we need to keep looking forward to the future to see and finding out ways to be able to grow sensibly is a big factor. There's a lot of things that we sometimes don't have control on, unfortunately, like weather and fuel and things like that affects people. But growth is a big factor. So,
Conrad Mayer?
I think one of the biggest challenges we have is we don't market Rancho Cordova and all the great things that we have. And that would be a problem solver for me. When you attract people, you attract business. And in doing that, we keep schools from closing. We keep residents here, and we keep our tax dollars here. We keep residents. Let me back up. We were touted as a smart growth community where we live, shop, and play. And I find a lot of folks that are venturing out of our community for nightlife, for family entertainment, and for shopping. So I would say one of our challenges is marketing to attract businesses, to keep our residents shopping and in our schools and so on and so forth. So, thank you.
Linda Budge?
The most important job of any government is the safety and security of its residents, and we're working very hard right now to solve some spot problems that have grown up in the last couple of months. One of my main priorities has always been to continue to remodel the physical appearance of Rancho Cordova, and we've done a wonderful job on Folsom Boulevard. But we also need to continue to remodel the structures along the boulevard and the residential neighborhoods behind. We need to continue to grow. We need to continue to grow our residential community and our business community. There is a synergy between the two. We need the services that we don't have or lost when Mather closed, and we need to be able to bring them back because we have all these new people moving into Rancho Cordova. And then finally, we need to continue to be fun. We have a great quality of life here in Rancho Cordova. We run on our volunteers, and they put on wonderful celebrations that make people want to come and live in Rancho Cordova.
James Fici?
During the course of my campaigning, I've spoken to so many voters and just residents throughout the community. And throughout all their concerns and the problems that they see within the city and that they've addressed to me are all symptoms of a bigger problem, and that's the loss of liberty. And while I know I like to beat the drum of liberty and freedom, and I have a personal investment in the liberty and freedom that we need to restore here, if we start to restore those liberties and freedoms and start taking away a lot of the municipal codes that are mainly malum prohibitum, we will start to see the other problems that we have not seem as bad anymore. We'll be able to start to address individuals' concerns such as scavenging in the trash cans. We'll be able to open up the free market by deregulating and addressing some of the zoning code issues that we have. This is all a part of restoring liberty.
Kevin E. Johnson?
Wow. We first need to accept the fact that we have new issues, new responsibilities. Even though we're a new city and we've been doing good over the years, I think it's time for new council people to come in and take some new ideas to get this place to the new level. We need some new leadership. Our city needs to adapt to the new issues that we have. And if we still living in the past issues, well, you know, our city's good, our city's good. No, our city right now, we having a lot of criminals coming here. So our police officers, they need to be proactive. We need to have police need to be responsible for us. We need better schools. We need, you know, our high school kids need to have a better choice than to go to one school, you know, so we can have competition within the city that bring people together. We can have understanding. Sorry about my time, but yes, we need help.
Thank you. Okay, Conrad Mayer. Rancho Cordova celebrated its 10th anniversary in 2013. And if elected to the City Council, what strengths would you bring to help this new young city reach its 20th anniversary in 2023?
Again, I will go to marketing. When we were celebrating our 10-year anniversary, I believe we were also celebrating our All-America City status. And part of that All-America City status was individuals that came together to solve problems within our community. Well, if we can market those type of situations where everybody who has an idea that can bring it forward to people that make it happen, we can continue to inspire those to come to our community, be engaged, be involved, and 10 years later, we're celebrating it all over again.
Linda Budge.
So if you're asking about individual strengths, my experiences over the years have been very broad. I've served on the Park District Board. I've served on the Metro Fire District Board. Professionally, I'm an urban planner, and it is my goal to ensure that we grow in an appropriate manner, that where we are providing a walkable, sustainable community that serves its residents and provides the things that they need and want and deserve. It's all about making sure that people can continue to participate in Rancho Cordova and make sure that there's a role for them as we try to attract new young people to come and live in Rancho Cordova, because they truly are our future. And so many of us are lucky enough to have our kids and our grandkids living here with us, and we want them to stay. So we need to continue to make sure that we are the best hometown that they could possibly have.
James Fici.
Could you ask that question again, please?
Yes. Rancho Cordova celebrated its 10th anniversary in 2013, and if elected to the City Council, what strengths would you bring to help this new young city reach its 20th anniversary in 2023?
Well, as a veteran of the Air Force, I've done a lot of actual personal service in any community that I've resided, and I think that it's not going to be the job of the City Council to bring us to our 20th anniversary. It's going to be the job of the citizens to bring us there. We need to make our own legacy. And if this is the prize that we keep our eye on, I guarantee you that we will make our own legacy by first restoring liberty through citizens' voice, and this is probably the one part where I'm going to backtrack a little bit and say that this is where the City Council will step in by assisting in the restoration of liberty and by letting those citizens in the free market take their course and do what they do best, which is run their own lives. Thank you.
Kevin E. Johnson.
What would I do to help us get to the next century? I would like to work with the young people to get them to take a pride in their city and start helping their city instead of the young people destroying our city. I would like the young people to take pride. I would like to have some more graduates so they can go to that fancy high school. I would like our police department to be able to work with the people. I would like to have our older people be taken care of by their family members instead of having the outside people come and take care of them. Well, what I do personally, I will see that every person that wants to work out here, every person that wants to build a building out here, that they want to stay here and they want to contribute here. And I would politely ask them, what are they going to bring to our city that's going to help our city better when they want to move or bring a business here and bring a family here? Thank you.
And Dan Skoglund.
Yes. In 2006, our city completed our first general plan, which is a 25-year envisionment of what we would look like, which was very time-taking, and we had our planning commission assist us, and it was very eye-opening of what we thought we could do within the next 25 years. I think we need to go back and review what our goals were there and look forward and make sure that we get the city built correctly. the citizens have voice on how we're doing that. We need to bring in more jobs, which we have a lot of jobs to start with, but we need to continue that. We need to have basically good transportation, good housing for people, recreation for people. So the question was about envisionment for the next 10 years. What will it look like when we're 20 years old? We need to stick with our general plan, maybe update it, and then basically add in what we've seen and what we want to do in the future.
All right, thank you. And Linda Budge, how can Rancho Cordova be a leader in expanding women and minority participation in business and job opportunities so they can provide for their families?
We can do that by supporting our business community. And quite frankly, for a lot of us on the City Council, we actually came from experience in the Chamber of Commerce because that's part of how we got incorporated. As a past president of the Chamber, I have worked as the Volunteer of the Year on the Cordova Commercial Revitalization Project, and we work to support all of our community that has just come here to live recently. So we do try to incorporate all of the smaller individual businesses. If you just look at Coriana Plaza, they have grown from just a Korean grocery store a few years ago to where they are feeding the world. They are feeding the entire East County with the most incredible variety of foodstuffs you can imagine because they serve the wide variety of different cultures that have come to live in Rancho Cordova.
James Fici?
Well, according to Article 3 and Section 6 of our California State Constitution, English is actually listed as our language of the land, or the common law language. Now, for minorities, what we need to ensure is that those new immigrants that are coming into our community that make up our vast, diverse community, we need to ensure that they're getting the proper opportunities made available to them by advocating with the free market or our schools to ensure that they have the opportunity to learn English so that they can be a part of our community and so we can learn a lot about them and so that they can take advantage of all the job opportunities that are available to them. Additionally, we should be ensuring that there are incentives that are made available for businesses that assist in these transitional periods for new immigrants and those that are minorities. That'd be all. Thank you.
Kevin Johnson?
Well, if I'm correctly, I think you said, well, how could we get the more women involved with the day-to-day operations of Rancho?
Expanding women and minority participation in business and job opportunities.
And that goes back to what I've been talking about all night, and I appreciate that question. Minorities and women, and I'm very clearly, there are a lot of them. They need to be trained. They need to have the opportunities. They need to be involved. They need to feel like they're part of the city and not just there. And that becomes with the homeless, the young people. Instead of trying to arrest them and send them through another county and talking about, oh, they're the county problem, we need to embrace our young women. We need to talk to them. We need to find out what kind of things that they like to do. Let's get some women programs involved with the city. Let's try to get some programs to encourage our young people and our young women to get involved. And also maybe the young women that are young mothers can bring their young kids up and then they'll want to stay in Rancho because that's where they're going to get their help from. Thank you.
Dan Skoglund?
Yes, I think the question states that I think we need to start early with education. People basically, and women and minorities and everybody. We have a junior college coming into town. It's going to be built and completed in about a year. Great opportunity. We're going to become a college town. It's going to be a wonderful opportunity for partnerships with schools and a college. So education starts with education, and then Rancho Cordova is so business friendly, and there's so much business there that they could just go to the Chamber of Commerce and basically look at all the membership there and apply to as many different types of classifications of work as they want to. So all the opportunities are there for women and minorities. It's just basically getting it in front of them and making sure that they want to participate in it too. But it really all starts with a good education.
Conrad Mayer.
When you talk about getting women and minorities involved, there's an action to that, and it requires you to communicate, find and develop relationships. And relationships and communication comes from places where you're having this as a possibility. So I would say if you want to do a better job of communicating with minorities and women in order to provide for them, incentives aren't a big issue, a big deal. They're okay, but I would say just coming up and talking and socializing. Just be a person. Help provide resources for them so that they can be better at what they're trying to do, and go to these places such as the Hispanic, Latino, the California Latinos organization and get to know them.
Okay, well, that concludes our questions, and we'll go to closing remarks. And just to mix it up a bit, we'll start in the middle. Linda Budge.
The main reason for this forum today is to make sure that you are all informed about the issues and about the candidates. We want everyone to go out and vote. I said this at the Latino Voters Forum a couple of weeks ago, except it was my privilege to say it in Spanish. It's very important that you exercise your right of self-determination. When we are in the 4th of July parade, and there are all those wonderful people that we're waving to on Coloma Road who didn't grow up in a country where voting and participating is their right, that makes us very sad. And so we want you to be sure that you choose today the two candidates that you think will get you the best representation on the City Council. It's my privilege to be endorsed by my colleagues, by our Assembly member, our supervisor, the sheriff, and the district attorney, and a whole host of organizations. And I would very much appreciate your vote on the 4th of November to re-elect me to the Rancho Cordova City Council.
James Fici.
Thank you. And thank you again for having me here tonight. Throughout my daily campaigning and speaking to voters, I discovered very quickly that there's an inner rage building with all of us through the actions that are the result of some of the indecisions or decisions made at our federal, state, and local level of governments. I hear your rage, and I will continue to listen. While Rancho Cordova has a lot of good things going for it, the problems that we see and the concerns that we have, I will remind you, can all be resolved through the restoration of liberty and freedom and property rights. And through doing that, we will all relight that sacred torch of liberty together. Rancho Cordova needs leaders that love liberty and will govern according to their oath of office that they will be taking. As I commit to you, I will do. Through putting first things first and making our own legacy and not comparing ourselves to our neighbors, we will put first things first. And I'm James Fici, and I'd like to ask for your vote this November for City Council. Thank you.
Kevin E. Johnson.
Thank you for this opportunity in this forum. Once again, I'm very concerned with the city of Rancho and the way it's ran. And the reason I'm concerned, the reason why it's ran the way it is because we have older politicians in the power of city council. The city council is not for politicians. City council is to get the people together in the city to work together as one so we can have living for our families and safe living, and to be able to walk down the street and know the police is for everybody and not just for politicians. I don't have the backing of the politicians. I don't have the backing. I do have the backing of all the young people that I helped when I worked in the group home and tell me, Mr. Johnson, you're doing a good job. And the reason I'm working is because of you. The backing that when I go into a store and I talk to them and I understand that what they're going through and the things they talk to me that we've been working for years and the city's trying to take our permits from us. So on that note, I recommend your vote, and I think you should vote with your conscience and the ability and not with just what happened in the past.
Dan Skoglund.
Thank you. Rancho Cordova, like many communities across the country, are working diligently to meet and exceed needs of its citizens by maintaining public services, providing public security, and so on. In addition to meeting these basic needs, Rancho Cordova must work diligently to foster opportunities for business and individuals so they can thrive throughout our region. And we need to support education and public health and economic development. During the next 4 years, I intend to dedicate myself to advancing those ideas that will help Rancho Cordova grow and become a beacon city. To ensure that Rancho Cordova maintains its prominence locally, statewide, and nationally, we must commit to the following initiatives. We need to reinvest in our youth. We need to reinvest in our neighborhoods. We need to support business development. And we need to work toward a cleaner and safer environment. I've been a resident of the city for 40 years. I've been active in the community for 30 years. I've been on the council for 10 years. I was on the first planning commission. I appreciate your support and your vote. Thank you.
Conrad Mayer.
Our community has had similar things before cityhood, and they have, as they have a decade later through our surveys. We have needs when it comes to safety, gangs, and at-risk youth, education and higher expectations, retail and fine restaurants, family entertainment and amenities, parks and recreation, and currently we have communication problems. I have been in the trenches observing, diagnosing, and helping any way I can as an individual. With your vote, can you imagine a team of great residents like yourself combined with city staff and how quickly we could be moving forward and remarketing our All-America city in many new ways? Now that's a fresh take that I can be proud of. My endorsements are those that are movers, shakers, and ones that are inspiring others to be community servants as well. I am not a sitting servant. I am visible, active, and inspiring, and that is the type of leader I have told we need.
Thank you. That concludes our forum, and on behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission, I really want to thank you, the candidates, for participating. I'd also like to thank all the volunteers who've made this forum possible. The forum has been designed to impart information to you, the voter, in accordance with the belief that our democracy depends on the informed and active participation of citizens in government. We hope that the insights you have gained from this forum will aid you in making your decision. The forum will be rebroadcast every Sunday on Metro Cable Channel 14 until Election Day. A repeat playback schedule is advertised on Metro Cable 14's bulletin board every day from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. And you can also find the schedule on the Metro Cable website at sacmetrocable.tv. For more voter information, you can visit the League's website, LWVSacramento.org, or our Smart Voter website, smartvoter.org. And brand new this year is the Voters Edge website at votersedge.org. Voters Edge is your one-stop for the 2014 election. It provides lots of nonpartisan voter information and a simple way to find your polling place and your sample ballot if you should lose it. So the League of Women Voters is where hands-on work to safeguard democracy leads to civic improvement. Please vote November 4th. Good night.